This meeting of the G20 under South Africa's presidency continues in Johannesburg today with a special guest in the form of the United Nations Security General Antonio Guterres addressing delegates from the bloc of nations. Our business editor Xolani Mbanjwa is on that story for us. Xolani, what do you have for us at this hour?
Good morning once again, Aldrin. Well, delegates are continuing to stream in for this important engagement. And now I'm joined by a very important track from the Central Bank Governors, Deputy Central Bank Governor, who's part of this delegation and part of the South African leadership, Dr. Rashad Cassim. Dr. Cassim, thank you so much for your time this morning. Central bank governors around the world have faced a problem of high inflation, of low growth. What is under discussion here today? Because when you look here at home, we have a thing or two to say about our Reserve Bank that has been really trying to protect the public from the high inflation that we've been seeing. But during that time, we've also seen a high level of interest rates. What is under discussion over the next 2 days in the central bank governors and finance track?
So, you know, the G20 covers, the finance track covers a series of issues and themes. We start off with what we call the conjuncture, what's going on currently in the economy. We move on to financial architecture issues, the debt crisis, which is more for a focus of National Treasury. But we look at the financial sector issues. We look at cross-border trade. What are the obstacles to global growth? Are there countries that lose out from the kind of growth dividends and so on? On your specific question on an important part of the G20 is we discuss the conjuncture. So the conjuncture is central banks and finance ministries talk about where are we with the inflation challenge? Are we conquering the inflation challenge? Are there still concerns? Do supply chains matter? What is the pace of interest rates going to be? Are some going to cut? Are some going to kind of keep pause? And I think that in order to do that, we will have a discussion on what are the global inflation challenges, what are the common set of factors that affect us all. For example, is an important part is supply chains used to be an important part of the inflation challenge. Are supply chains easing? Are we going to have tariff increases? Are we going to have a tariff war? Is the tariff war going to lead to more inflation? And how would we react to that? What impact will that have on global growth? So these are the kind of things we will be discussing.
And of course, if you're talking about tariff increases, Donald Trump is obviously hanging over these meetings quite large, as you are saying, about the tariff war and how if that war ensues, and we've seen China also responding to what the U.S. president-elect has said, how would the central bank, the South African Reserve Bank, respond? How would you have to respond? And how would South Africa be impacted by a tariff war that is ensuing between the largest economies in the world?
So, the first rule about a tariff is that increasing tariffs affects the country who increases the tariffs most negatively. So if South Africa were to increase its tariffs, we'll be negatively affected. If the US increases its tariffs, it will suffer the consequences more than anyone else. However, for us, what matters is that if we are not increasing the tariffs, there's no inflationary effect on the South African economy. The question is, if everyone else starts increasing their tariffs, and that leads to price increases, and that the global prices go up, and what we import is now more expensive, then it may have a negative effect. The other way in which tariffs can have a negative effect on us is if we're exporting to countries, and suddenly these countries impose tariffs on South African exports, that can have a that can have an impact on slowing down our economy and actually lead to a bit of disinflation. So, you know, it's tricky. It's not straightforward. At one level, tariffs can have an inflation price-raising effect. At another level, it can reduce growth. So we don't know enough to see how it will play out at this stage.
Just quickly, what do you expect from Antonio Guterres this afternoon?
I have no clue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Cassim. Dr. Rashad Cassim is the Deputy Governor of the South African Reserve Bank, headed into these meetings, of course, discussing some very important issues that you and I and every South African should be concerned about when it comes to high inflation, when it comes to what is expected to happen should U.S. President-elect Donald Trump really come through with his threats of increasing trade tariffs, and how that would impact us and the prices we pay for the things we use on a daily basis. It's an important discussion taking place here that really impacts on the lives of ordinary South Africans. Back to you in studio, Aldrin.